So I like this book. It's a YA sci-fi book, standalone. It's fun, but I have my issues with it. I have issues with a lot of the media I consume. And like much of the media I consume, this has an issue when it comes to its female characters. This one isn't as bad as others, but still, because there are times when you consume a piece of media, you read a book, you watch a TV show, you watch a movie, and you come to the conclusion, like 10 minutes in, that not a single woman was involved in the creative process. And that's because most of our media is created with a white, heterosexual, cisgender male perspective in mind. Sometimes we get lucky and it's with a white, cisgender, heterosexual woman, but a lot of times the representation of women is not good. And there are genres that are more susceptible to issues with female characterization than others. Sci-fi being one of them. And it's very common among mainstream entertainment. And I was reminded of this, not while reading this book, which I have read many times, but when I was scrolling through Hulu looking for a new TV show to watch. And maybe it's my fault for deciding to watch a black comedy sci-fi anthology series that I had never heard of, and that only lasted for one 6-episode season, but I don't think it's that, because a lot of good shows on streaming platforms have gotten canceled after only one season, or 2 if we're lucky. I was hoping for a worthy successor to The Twilight Zone or Black Mirror that would fill the void within me, a show focused on race, gender, disability, and how that all intersected with technology. And that could possibly recreate that feeling, that haunted, empty, hollow feeling that I had after I read The Giver for the first time. You know, something that would just be there at the back of my mind, kind of just gnawing there when lying in wait. Like those disturbing children's books that you read once in like 5th grade and that terrifies you to the core. I love those. Not necessarily horror, but just like existentialism. I think that's healthy for a kid. But I digress. That's not what I got. And I mean, the show will haunt me, but not because it posed some huge philosophical question or presented a unique, interesting dystopia. Rather, I'll be haunted by its mediocrity and the knowledge that I probably could have written a far more compelling episode with the same premise. In fact, at the end of this video, I will tell you how I will make it better. And so, submitted for the approval of my viewers, I present to you my thoughts on the episode Matchmaker from Dimension 404. Hi, I'm Sam, also known as Scoop. This is Scoop's Corner, my own little corner of the internet where I talk about things that interest me. Some of you might know me from Chamber of Spoilers, a channel that I ran with my friend Rachel, and earlier this year we came to the decision to stop producing videos for the channel. We both had different ideas about where the channel was gonna go. We had different ideas for videos, and due to that and other reasons, we decided to stop producing content for that channel. But after a little break, after some thinking, I decided to come back. And so here I am. But since this is a new channel, I would love it if you could comment, like, subscribe, share. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy this analysis, review, rant, really whatever this ends up being. I hope you like it. So Dimension 404 premiered on Hulu in 2017. The series lasted for one season of 6 40-minute episodes. I don't know why the show didn't get renewed. It's not my place to speculate, but as I've mentioned, it's not really unusual in the current state of streaming for a show to be canceled early on. I mean, this is coming off right now, the news that the Netflix show Chaos just got canceled like 6 weeks after it premiered, despite it being very successful. So it could be anything, and the state of entertainment now is terrible. I mean, with Dimension 404, I only watched the one episode, so I don't have an opinion on the show as a whole, because this one episode I watched, I did not like at all. Dimension 404 was created by Desmond Dolly, also known as Dez, and Will Campos, and co-created by Dan Johnson and David Welch. Freddie Wong, Matthew Arnold, and Dolly were the executive producers and the directors for the show. The episode that we'll be discussing, Matchmaker, was directed by Stephen Cedars and Benji Kleiman. Campos, Dolly, Johnson, and Welch wrote the story, and the script was by Campos, Dolly, and Jake Andrews. So a lot of the same people are involved at all different levels of this, which isn't unusual for a television production, but I think this points out an issue. The show was produced by Rocket Jump and Lionsgate Television. Arnold, Campos, and Dolly all worked on Video Game High School, among other productions. So it's probably not far out to say they're a pretty tight-knit group who might not always be totally open to outsiders. Matchmaker is the story of Adam, a lonely music blogger, and one day his roommate, whose name I don't remember and who I don't care to look up, signs him up for a dating app called Make a Match. Within seconds, Adam's perfect match is found, a woman named Amanda. She has all the characteristics that Adam wants in his ideal partner. Streak of red dyed hair, a love of indie music, and a tattoo of an origami bird on her wrist.
Got us 2 handlebars, is that okay?
Yeah, actually that's my favorite beer.
Mine too.
I'm sorry, did you change hair?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just dyed it. I guess I should have updated my...
Oh, no, it's okay. I like it.
Good. Yeah, I thought it was time to just mix up my look. Plus, it goes with Charlie. Charlie.
The relationship goes perfectly for about 2 months. Then...
Alright, so you're saying just slow things down.
Exactly.
Play cool.
My man.
Alright.
Okay. I love you.
So she dumps him, as she should. And then, almost immediately, a group of men burst through her door to drag him away. And it's quickly revealed that Adam is the latest version of Amanda's Dream Man, created by Make a Match. And since she no longer wants him, he's forced to spend his days alongside his failed brothers, who are clones who look pretty much just like him, as a janitor in Make a Match headquarters, and they're surviving on some kind of pink slurry. You know, they're miserable, they're working, and we get this whole montage. Adam falls into a depression. He draws Amanda's tattoo on the wall. We get to see a little bit of these other Adams. And one day, while working, Adam, who is like Adam number 5, he finds his successor is about to be sent into the world, and this causes him to snap. This leads to a chain reaction where Adam leads a revolt against Make a Match. He kills the founder. Good for him. Eat the rich. And then the clones are freed and live happily ever after. Well, he does run into his ex. You know, he runs into Amanda. And the episode ends with a hint that maybe, just maybe, they might reconnect and have a real relationship. But at least, if they don't, he has his brothers.
Like, how are you? What are you up to?
Everything's good. My residency is good, just taking it slow.
Yeah.
It's really good to see you. We should, I don't know, get together sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Here, you should have this. It's really great to see you.
You too.
end. Now, what's important here is that my taste isn't necessarily your taste. Everything I say from here on out in this section is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like it. Also, just so you know, I do enjoy occasionally being a bit of a hater. It can be fun. And I know a lot of people are done TM with dark shows with nihilistic themes, sad endings, where people die and main characters don't live happily ever after. You know, stuff that's edgy for the sake of being edgy. And I get that. I enjoy a little bit of darkness in my shows. Some people want all their entertainment to be lighthearted and escapist. And while I respect that, it's not for me. Grimdark and lighthearted stories both have their place. Certain tones work better with certain genres. And when people try to take a genre that has, historically, at least in recent memory, has a certain tone, and they try and change that, it doesn't always turn out well. Sometimes it can be a brilliant deconstruction of the genre. Sometimes it can feel too much like the creative team was trying to be different for the sake of being different, and I think that's what happened with Matchmaker. With older sci-fi anthologies like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, you do have episodes that are more lighthearted, that have happy endings. I wouldn't consider sci-fi anthology necessarily a comedic genre. And I think deciding to be a black comedy rather than to be a black comedy horror anthology hurts Matchmaker. I think it hurts the show as a whole, but it especially hurts Matchmaker. The episode doesn't take itself too seriously, which I feel undercuts the message the episode is trying to bring. The fact that the horrors of the world are never fully reckoned with feels like a wasted opportunity. While the Make a Match company is largely shown to be unethical and the founder is a megalomaniac douchebag,
This is where you belong. I am your father, and you will do what Daddy demands.
there's never this underlying sense of horror that's explored or really mentioned or played with beyond the monotony of Adam's new life. It's very 9-to-5 type of drudgery. You're doing the same thing day in, day out, and it's just boring, especially after you had this whole honeymoon whirlwind romance period. It's hard going from that to another thing. But the other aspects, like Adam being a clone and that clones are lesser in this world, is briefly mentioned but never explored. The idea that Adam was created literally just to be someone's perfect match and he failed in that just ends up with him being annoyingly lovesick and clingy for the majority of the episode. There are so many existential questions that could be brought up that just aren't. And while wasted potential is one thing, I think the story fails on basic world building and understanding of genre conventions and tropes. Sci-fi, like horror, is an inherently political genre. Sci-fi is a genre that explores technologies and its effects on the characters and society at large. Matchmaker is clearly inspired by all those science fiction stories about people finding out their clones, how they cope, and usually about the treatment of clones as a metaphor for marginalized people. In most sci-fi media that does this, as I've mentioned, where the main character is a clone or clones are in the setting, the story leans into messaging about prejudice. It's all about prejudice. The clones are stand-in for marginalized groups, whatever it is at that time period. But Matchmaker barely scratches the surface of this. There are a few hints about how clones are treated. For example, you can't kill a clone, but a clone can basically unalive themselves. Doing that so I don't get demonetized. They can basically unalive themselves voluntarily, and that's fine.
And if you really want to take your career to the next level, volunteer for our biomatter recycling program and be a part of the next generation of Make a Match companions. Scientists assure me it's 100% fun.
And it's obvious from the intro video that Adam watches that they're hiding something. But the fact that, you know, the whole recycling or whatever process it is actually bloody and seemingly painful rather than instantaneous and simple isn't really a surprise. I could see that coming a mile away. The episode is way more focused on our Adam number 5, getting over his love for Amanda. And this could have been a great thing to discuss in the episode. If you were made for one purpose and that's taken away from you, what do you do? Which the episode doesn't really answer, at least in a good way, and the open ending implies he could end up back with Amanda, which makes the whole thing null and void and kind of weird and squeaky. The episode reads as though someone read through some TV tropes pages and based the idea around the information they had gleaned from those pages, as opposed to actually watching or reading the movies and books and TV shows that those examples came from and gaining a more thorough understanding of how it works. And the setting. I get that the show doesn't have the time to focus on the intricacies of the world. We only have 40 minutes after all. We mainly explore Make-A-Match headquarters, which is very dull, very unexciting. We don't get to see how the cloning has affected the world at all beyond the mention of the law I just discussed, and it could be proprietary technology that only the company can use. But still, this technology would change the world. Like, how would that change society at large? Surely other people would want clones as their employees, since they seemingly don't count as full humans in this world. Surely there are people who would heavily abuse this technology and live out sick, twisted fantasies. We could hint at that, right? Not to mention, the service has to cost so much. There's no way cloning is cheap, dude. And they presumably also have some way of housing, paying, and feeding the clones who are out in society. Now, maybe there aren't a lot of them, but still, that would make it more expensive, right? Sure, Adam is a music blogger. He's probably not making a ton of money, but he thinks his roommate is a slacker who doesn't have a job. His roommate actually works for Make-A-Match. But where does he think this money is coming from? His successor, who comes after him, when they send them out, he's supposed to be a lawyer. So where are they getting lawyer money to pay a fake lawyer? Does he still work as a lawyer? If I can create a lawyer through a cloning process, why would I hire a real lawyer? Surely the lawyer with all the information like in his brain that's put there by like science and weird shit is gonna be slightly cheaper than the lawyer who went to law school. What is going on here? Amanda, she's a med student, so presumably she has a wealthy family paying for this service, or she decided to do this service and pay for this instead of focusing on student loans, or doing it on top of student loans, which is incredibly stupid because theoretically she would still have to support Adam through all of this. And I know I'm thinking way too much about this, but is she really that desperate that she would take on debt just so her partner can be a music blogger who's a clone who she'll have to support? Like, she goes in knowing she's gonna have to financially support this guy, right? Like, what is going on here? She knows she's gonna have to financially support this guy. It's one thing going into a relationship and not realizing at first that you're gonna have to be the sole provider. It's another thing to create a guy and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be the sole provider for this. For an underemployed music blogger. Like, what the heck? Maybe if she was taking on all this debt because she thinks that having a partner will make her happy, because this is because our society places so much emphasis on romantic and sexual relationships. Interesting. Something like The Lobster, where people have to find a partner or else they'll be turned into an animal and hunted down. But this time, it's a world where people create partners so they don't have to deal with the stigma of being alone. That could be interesting. And I mean, I've seen this kind of premise done better. There's this animated short called Print Your Guy that has a very similar premise, except it focuses on the female character, and she's ordering basically robots. And she can only put in like a one-word description. She sends each one back for a different reason, but that's mostly because they have a singular personality trait. Until she falls in love with the delivery guy after finding out they have the same taste in movies. Sweet, simple, to the point. But that wasn't a sci-fi short. Print Your Guy was a comedy. And because the person doing the ordering realized she has to find what she wants naturally and that the robots aren't human and this They're very clearly fake. You don't have that weird slavery factor playing in. Matchmaker is supposed to be a black comedy sci-fi episode, but it isn't really comedic or science fiction-y enough to be either. Where's the political or social commentary? Where's the mystery, the intrigue? Where's the actual science fiction of it all? And honestly, I could forgive most of this if the characters were actually interesting, if I actually gave a darn about them. Amanda shows up for maybe like 5 minutes of the episode and never gets a personality. And Adam, we're told he has these good qualities. His roommate even tells him, oh yes, you're kind, you're smart, you're hardworking, or whatever. I didn't bother to write it down because it was so boring. I assume these are all qualities Amanda chose for him, but we never get to see them depicted on screen. He is about as blank slate of a character as you can get. He's basically a self-insert. You're supposed to project yourself onto him. And I assume he's supposed to be like a generic self-insert of the writers or the audience, and you're supposed to project yourself onto him, but they're very much taking a narrow definition of who they believe their target audience is. They couldn't give him a personality trait or quality beyond indie music lover. He's a boring, generic white guy everyman, and that's just not enough to make me care about a character these days. The Twilight Zone, which the show is heavily based off of. I mean, you even have like a narrator, Mark Hamill, at the beginning giving a little introduction that is basically a ripoff of the Twilight Zone intro.
I'm sorry, viewer. The TV show you're searching for cannot be streamed in your reality. Please stand by for reconnection. In the darkest depths of cyberspace, there is another world. A lost dimension, home to wonders unseen, terrors unspeakable. Stories unlike any ever told until now. Do not click back. Do not reload. We have reconnected to Dimension 404.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone had Rod Serling give you a little bit of information on the characters. Their name, their job, their hobbies, or something that's bothering them. And we'd get that before getting properly into the story. I think this really benefited the viewers because it got us to care about and know the characters very quickly and very easily. Even though I normally hate telling rather than showing, Twilight Zone episodes were short, so this was a way to do it. In 40 minutes, you have quite a bit more time, and you could have given me something about Adam to make me care about him, but he just comes across as clingy and whiny and annoying. I guess the whole episode's trying to play with the manic pixie dream girl trope, but I don't get it. Because in an episode like this, you expect the woman with a taste for indie music, IPAs, and a bird tattoo to be the caricature that was created by the boring, generic white guy TM. And because so often the manic pixie dream girl is a form of wish fulfillment for men, you would expect her to be the clone. The fact that she is the one doing the creating is interesting, especially when it turns out she's putting up a front, because she is an indie music lover, but she's also a med student. So she's clearly not fully a creative type, but she's projecting that desire onto Adam. It's not quite a gender reversal because there's nothing manic pixie or dreamy about Adam, and I guess you can say that Amanda's just wants to think he has these qualities when he really doesn't, but he has no real hobbies, no personality, no real drive. He's boring. Like, girl, if you can literally create a guy, do better. The male protagonist still feels like he's missing something with his life, despite setting-wise him being the wish fulfillment character. Somehow Amanda is still playing a role of manic pixie dream girl in Adam's life. It's narratively and thematically confusing, like the team couldn't quite commit or understand the trope. And another issue I have is I don't feel bad for Adam when he gets dumped. I think we're supposed to, but I don't. Yeah, he's doing just what he was created to do, but it's still uncomfortable. It's still cringy. And I guess we're also supposed to feel bad for Adam when we find out that Adam 6 is supposed to be a better kisser, less clingy, and taller. All of which I think are fairly valid. Does it want, like, maybe not being taller, but even though I'm asexual, like, kissing your partner should be an enjoyable thing. And, like, yeah, less clingy. You can't teach someone really to be less clingy, can you? I've had clingy boyfriends in the past, nowhere to Adam's degree, but, like, a girl who needs her space, I get it. So maybe that's just me, or the fact that I'm ace, or maybe the writing sucks, or maybe all three, but, like, I just don't have a lot of sympathy for Adam in any aspect of this. He kind of sucks. And I mean, I don't like Amanda because her involvement in something that is basically slavery, but that's not really the reason the episode gives. We're meant to sympathize with her because she only joins Make a Match because in her previous relationship she got cheated on. But, like, girl, you are a whole ass medical student. It took you 5 boyfriends to try and make one who's a lawyer. Why not just go out from there at the start with your ex-lawyer? Like, give me something. Like, you're complicit in slavery, but, like, if you're gonna create a boyfriend, you might as well go all the way out, right? And I honestly think that if the creative team had involved even one woman, but preferably multiple women, we could have gotten a banger of an episode with the same general message about how dating apps make us look at people like they're disposable. Now, I admit I'm watching a 2017 show, so that has like a 2017 view on dating apps, and it's 2024 now, and dating app culture has changed. Because I wasn't using dating apps in 2017. I just graduated college then. I was kind of busy, and I didn't date in college. I was busy. I mean, I tried them, but, like, I don't think I got really into them till, like, nearly 2018. And I didn't really understand dating apps back then. But it still feels like the creative team weren't using dating apps back in 2017. Because, like I said, the show is an allegory for dating apps. People are swiping through different people without care about the person on the other end, and hoping they can find someone better. They're always on the lookout for someone better than the person they have. But like I pointed out earlier, Amanda has legitimate reasons not to be attracted to Adam. Mostly the clinginess. I would not be able to overlook that. I need someone who has a life outside of me. And yes, I have an issue with her disposing a whole ass sentient human being. Even then, like, she's under no obligation to like him. If anything, it's Make a Match's fault for making him too clingy. I've stopped talking to guys on dating apps for less. Yeah, is it true that dating apps make you feel like you need to find the one? Sure, but you're also exposed to a larger dating pool than you would normally be if you're just meeting people in person. Therefore, you have to go through a lot more bad profiles and bad dates and short-term relationships until you come across something good. And like 2 months of dating, that's nothing. If you go on 1 date a week, that's only like 8 dates. That's just the start of a relationship. That's basically when you really start having the "are we exclusive" talk. So she was like well within her rights. That was barely a relationship. And like, I sympathize with the creators. Like, obviously, like, of course you're gonna have trouble with dating apps. Everyone does. Dating apps suck. But the men and women have completely different struggles on dating apps. And Adam's particular struggle is just not one I have a lot of empathy for. It really kind of feels like the writers made Amanda out to be this unachievable goal and also kind of a bitch, but not a bitch for the right reasons. I really think getting a woman or 2 or 3 or in the writer's room might have helped shift the conversation a bit. Like changing Amanda's reasoning, giving her a different motivation. Or maybe making Adam seem like a more attractive choice. Because like I said, given the chance to create any man she wants, would a med student really choose a music blogger who isn't really making money? He is so for real. I don't buy it. Like, I get that probably exists. Like, women will settle for less because of the importance society places on being in a romantic relationship. But really? And certainly the Mr. Maker, yes, his last name is Maker, that's so stupid. He's the founder, would have a different motivation other than a dead wife, which was mentioned in passing, and which is weird because did he want to recreate her? Did he succeed in that? Does this mean all the clones are clones of someone who's still living? Where are they getting the DNA from? Wouldn't it make more sense then for Make-A-Match to be creating clones, imperfect clones of people's deceased boyfriends as a business model? Like, hey, you lost the love of your life, we'll recreate them. Give us some of their hair, give us some of their DNA, and we can replicate them, but the replicants aren't perfect. Because if he lost his wife, like, he would just recreate her. But like, how do you go to that to like, oh, we're gonna make them individual with all these memories? And like, where are they getting the DNA for these people? Where are they getting it? Where are they getting the DNA for the clones? I doubt she's like cloning her still living, cheating ex-boyfriend. So they gotta be coming from somewhere. Like, it would make more sense that she has a dead boyfriend who she wants to bring back to life, but every time she tries to do that, they come out imperfect, and she has to learn to live with that imperfectness, and that no one's gonna be exactly like her dead boyfriend because he was his own person. And that's a far more compelling plot line that I came up with. And you can have Amanda going on a variety of dates with guys who have kind of look alike and have different personalities, and have Adam discover he's a clone much later in the episode, or even at the end, for that tomato in the mirror kind of shit. Yes, it's not the genre that they were going for, but I think it's a far more interesting story. So that's one way I would rewrite the episode. Here's another way I would do it. This is the part I've been looking forward to. I'm an amateur screenwriter. I'm working on a few things, including I'm trying to write an adaptation of this. I'm going through a few different versions, trying to decide what I like best, but this is ripe for adaptation. Instead of having our main character be a man, we'll have a woman. And she has all the characteristics of a manic pixie dream girl. You know, dyed hair, some tattoos, an unconventional piercing, maybe two, and she likes indie music. She works at a record store or instrument store or a secondhand shop, some kind of retail position that's just like quirky enough. Like, we're not talking a Walmart, we're talking independent, very much a passion retail job. And she has a coworker, roommate, who turns her on to a dating app where she instantly matches with a dude. She agrees to the date. The first date takes place in a bar, like many do. He orders her a drink. She's excited that he's guessed her preference and that they seem to have a lot in common. But she's a little uncomfortable with his advances and how he seems to know so much about her without really her telling anything. But her roommate convinces her to continue the relationship. And instead of just this one long shot of them kissing and the season changes like it does in the episode, because we see them going on a variety of dates and her getting more and more uncomfortable with his clinginess. The final straw comes when he goes to pick her up at work, sees a guy talking to her, and he gets mad because he thinks the other guy's flirting with her, so he tries to be violent and nobody intervenes. So she does the proper thing and goes to the police, but they're uninterested in listening to her. And this is when we get the twist. They end up contacting her boyfriend, who returns her to the Make-A-Match, or the equivalent in this world. And I'd keep the part about the clones working, but rather than being recycled and possibly turned into some pink sludge to be eaten, we're going more Dollhouse route. Their memories are wiped and rewritten to keep costs down, and they're ordered again. And like anyone can order, you get some specifications, and so she's gonna be someone else's manic pixie dream girl, and she makes friends with another clone. And while working one day, the main character comes across her file and sees the list of people she's been placed with, all of whom have been relatively toxic, and they've returned her when she stopped being obedient. She starts going through other files and finds similar patterns. She also finds out that her new friend, the clone she's become close with, is going to be sent to her ex-boyfriend, and that's when security comes in. She tries to fight them off, relatively successfully, and rushes to where the other clones are to reveal the truth. They aren't really listening, and when she tries to warn her friend pauses, and we think that maybe she's not going to believe her, maybe there's a moment, and her friend hits a guard who's about to lead her away. Anarchy, everyone starts fighting, chaos. Time skip. Clone rights announcement on TV, and it's revealed main character and her new friend are living in a small, humble apartment. Maybe there's a pet cat. They discuss plans for the night. Main character goes off to work at another shop, but she's clearly happy and fulfilled. This keeps the same basic plot beats as the original episode, but kind of brings the message more to the forefront about relationships and about dating apps and how people are treated as disposable. This is one way I thought it would be interesting. And throughout the episode, I would also, particularly before the reveal, I would add some small background hints that there's something more at hand. Like a poster or an ad about the dating app and a TV commercial about cloning. A little bit of foreshadowing, spice things up. Add some tension, or we could go with the one I mentioned before, which is clones of dead partners. But that would be a totally different story, which I think would be really interesting. Overall, I think the concept and basic premise of this episode were interesting, but the execution just straight up sucked. And that in the hands of a more diverse team, we could have gotten a more powerful and impactful story that dug deeper and had more than a surface level understanding of its themes and ideas. And I'm probably going to take my ideas, tweak it a bit more, maybe make a spec script. Might go with the clone of dead loved ones, though I think they basically already did that for Black Mirror, so I might have to go with my second one. So that could be interesting, or, I make this video and just let some red-pilled incels yell at me about my idea in the comments. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and that's a scoop.